Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another NHL Stanley Cup Playoff preview here on Wolfgate Entertainment Channel. It has been a while since I've done anything NHL related. I think you all have to go all the way back to like the bubble playoffs, because I don't think I did anything last year. But regardless, this year we're coming in with the hot takes, with the hot takery that is the NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs. And if you are new here, you should go listen to the Chip Roasting Podcast. It's nothing to do with sports, but anyway. So I'm going to preview this Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm going to preview the first round, then go through and then the second round, and then the conference finals, and then I'm going to tell you who I think is going to win the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now I know I have a bracket. I have two brackets out there. One is who I think is going to win, and one is who I want to win. Clearly, I want the Nashville Predators to win. Not clearly, but I want the Nashville Predators to win. I'm a Nashville Predators fan. That's not going to happen this year, but we'll get to that. So we're going to start off with the first place in the entire NHL, the team that's going to have home ice advantage throughout the playoffs, and that's the Florida Panthers. They'll be taking on the wild card number 2 Washington Capitals. Now, there wasn't a single team in the Eastern Conference who had less than 100 points. I believe everyone finished off. I think Washington ended up finishing off with something like 109 points. Oh, okay, no, never mind. Never mind. They finished off with 100 points. But, not the greatest season for them based on past indicators. They won the Stanley Cup 3 years ago, or 4 years ago now. And it's still most of the same core. They got different depth players. They have different goalies. Braden Holtby is no longer there. He hasn't been there for a couple of seasons now. But I believe it's Ilya Samsonov, or maybe it's the other guy. No, sorry, it's Vanacek, who's been, I think, playing most of the games. Vitek Vanacek. He's got a 267 goals against average. He's been good, I think, as far as I can tell. He has 20, 12, and 6 this season, 267 goals against average, and 908 save percentage. So not bad. He's played most of the games, and I think that, he's solid. In terms of points, Alex Ovechkin finished with 90 points this season, 50 goals, 40 assists. He's been pretty well. Kuznetsov, Carlson, the regulars there. I think they're a solid team every year. I don't think they're going to get past Florida. Florida's really, really good. Sasha Barkov had 88 points. He had almost 40 goals this season. Huberdeau, I believe, about crushed every record in the Florida book with assists. He had 85 assists. He had 30 goals this season, 115 points for Huberdeau. No one on the Panthers came close in terms of points. Basically, what this series is going to come down to is who can outscore the other team. And I think the Panthers have better offense than the Capitals do. Their first two lines, really their first 3 lines are a threat to score for the Panthers. So, in that series, I'm going to take the Panthers over the Capitals. I understand it's going to be in 6 games. I just don't think the Capitals have it this year. And I know, I don't know, but like in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, they've lost 5 of their last 6 games. And their only one was against Arizona. So, they lost to New York Islanders twice, the Rangers once, Toronto in a shootout once, and Vegas in overtime. They have not been great. They beat Montreal 8-4. They beat Colorado 3-2 before that skid. But as of late, they have not won the right amount of wins for a series. They've lost 5 of their last 6, with 4 in a row to end the season. So, and I know Panthers got blown out of their last game, 10-2 by Montreal, but the Panthers weren't playing it. They were big guys, so it'd be nice to see Jumbo Joe go all the way, but we'll see what happens. The next series is Toronto and Tampa Bay. Now, this is an interesting series. The defending Stanley Cup champions versus the team that can't get out of the first round. The memes. You know how all of this goes for Toronto. Man, it's really hard for me to pick Toronto, to be honest. I want Toronto to win. I want them to win. I would like, if the Preds don't win the Stanley Cup, I'd like for Toronto to. But I just don't think it's going to happen. Tampa Bay is just, their top 2 lines are really, really good. Victor Hedman is also very solid, obviously. I mean, he's the Norris-winning defenseman. And then Andrei Vasilevsky is better than any goalie that I think the Leafs has. And if he's on, and I know he's by his standards has had a down year, which is just fucking wild to me. But Austin Matthews had 106 points this season, 60 goals. Marner 62 assists, 35 goals, 97 points. Stamkos had 106 points. Hedman had 65 assists and 85 points. Stamkos with 42 goals. I mean, you got Kucherov, you got Point. Nick Paul is fit in really well down there. Man, it's hard for me to pick Toronto. It's really hard for me to pick Toronto, so I think I am going to go with Tampa Bay. Another mad, sad Steve Dangle, and then I don't know what the Leafs do. I mean, it's kind of on the line for the Leafs right now, so we'll see what comes of it. But I don't think the Leafs have got what it's got to take out Tampa Bay. I hope I'm wrong, but at the moment, I don't think I'm going to be wrong. The next series is Boston and Carolina. Now, this is an intriguing series for a multitude of reasons. I want to say 2 seasons ago and 3 seasons ago, but I know Boston has knocked Carolina out of the playoffs recently. I think it was was it 2019 when the Blues won? Might have been 2019 when the Blues won. Well, yeah, the first season the Canes made the playoffs. I think. Do not hold me to. I mean, I guess I could look it up. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So the Hurricanes got swept by the Bruins 2 seasons ago. The Bruins, I believe, were the higher seed in that. Because I think they beat Toronto. They were the 2 seed against Toronto, and Carolina was the 4 seed in the Metro, or the wild card 1 or 2. I don't remember which one. Wild card 1, and so you're gonna want revenge on a team that has swept you relatively recently, and I think Carolina is just too good of a team to not do that. Now, I think they have some issues, putting up like a ton of points, but I know they can. They're really kind of, I think they're built more on their defense. I mean, Aho had 37 goals. He had 81 points. That was the most on the team with 81 points. And Sebastian Aho was pretty much their main driver. Now, they are without Freddie Anderson, which worries me a little bit, but Antti Ranta, I think, can carry the team. I mean, he's a really good goalie. I mean, he was on the New York Rangers when Lundqvist was on the Rangers like a long time ago. And he was pretty good in Arizona when he was there, but he's injury prone. So, Boston's a team that they drive the net. They play like a real hard nosed type style of hockey. And Carolina, they can do that. They just don't do it as much. But I don't know if the Boston goalies can get it done either. I know Linus Ullmark has had a fantastic season. I know Jeremy Swayman has a great season. They're like the real dynamic duo right now in the league. They're really good friends and stuff like that. I mean, if one fails, you go to the other. I think really what it's going to come down to who had the most points on the Bruins. It was Marchand. He had 80. So Marchand had 48 assists, 32 goals. Pastrnak had 40 goals, 37 assists, 77 points. I think they're both extremely deep teams. I think Boston has a little bit. Do they even have a little bit better defense? I think they might be better defensively than Carolina in terms of players. Maybe not structure. The one time I went and saw the Canes this season, they ripped the Preds apart. That's a tough call. It's going to be a really good series. It's going to be really tough to call. I'm going to take the Hurricanes in 7. I think the Bruins can push them to 7. It'll be a really good series. It's weird with Boston starting so low. I think they're wild card 1. So I'm going to take Carolina in 7 in that series. And lastly, the series that I think is probably going to be the most interesting in the East, maybe not even the most interesting, but I think the most hard fought in the East is Pittsburgh and the Rangers. This is going to be an absolute score fest. I don't think that score fest. Pittsburgh has really good offense, and so does the Rangers. Now, the biggest difference is that the Rangers have a pretty good goalie, but I just think that Pittsburgh, this is like this Rangers' first forte back into the playoffs with this group. So, and I know Artemi Panarin has had his experience in the playoffs with both the Blue Jackets and the Blackhawks. But there's just something about the Rangers. There's just something about the Pittsburgh Penguins that they know how to play hockey when the hockey, the real tough hockey needs to be played, I mean, they've been on 2 deep cup runs in, the past 6 years, and they won in 16 and 17. And I know they haven't been the same since, but this year, they've come roaring back. I mean, I think a lot of people had them, myself included. I think a lot of people had them out of the playoffs, so it'll be interesting to see for sure. In terms of points, Kreider had 52 goals. He was an absolute beast this year. And he's got playoff experience from back when the Rangers were really, really good. Um, Back in the early half of the 2010s. Panarin, he had 74 assists for 96 points this season. He led the team in assists, whereas, on the other end, Pittsburgh, Gensel had 40 goals, Letang had 58 assists, 68 points, and then Gensel led the team in goals, 84 points. What did I say, 84 and 96? Yeah, so both teams can score really, like, a lot of points. For me, this is like the most up in the air series. But I think I'm gonna give, because there's been a lot of turnover on Pittsburgh, but they also brought in a lot of people who have grit and skill, and experience in the playoffs. Like Ricardo Kell, and he can be really gritty. He's a great scorer as well. I think he's been pretty good since he got to Pittsburgh. And the Rangers can play that way. They purposely went out and got feistier this past offseason. I know they brought in Ryan Reeve. I don't think they have as solid of a defense, the Rangers, as Pittsburgh does. Chris Letang has had a resurgent year. Even if that's just offensively, he's had a resurgent year. So I am going to give the slight edge to Pittsburgh. I think the Penguins just, like I said, the experience is going to be, it's going to weigh out more in this. It's going to be a 7-game series. I think it's going to be a very high-scoring series. So that's where I am there. Now we head off to the West, where the Colorado Avalanche, which is the highest seed in the West, will take on the Nashville Predators. As I've said prior, I am a Predators fan, and I would love to be biased and pick the Nashville Predators. But there's a couple things. UC Saros is out as of right now. I don't know if he'll be back for Tuesday against the Avalanche. And if he's not, Big Save Dave has not been great this year. He was decent in the Wild game the other day. He was screened for a lot of the goals in the game against the Wild? Yeah, no. Who did they play? I don't even remember. Oh, Colorado. That's what. Duh. He was fine. They gave up 4 goals. I think the game ended 5-4 in the shootout. He was good in the shootout. I don't know if I trust the Preds without UC Saros. He's been a Vezina candidate all season. I think he finished the season off with a 918, and it looked like it was a groin the way he kind of went off the ice, groin injury. So I don't really trust Nashville right now, and I know the Herd line has been damn near stagnant. The fourth line is not as good as it should be. I think either Tommy Novak or Cody Glass should be the fourth line center with Tolvanen and Tomasino. I think especially in this series against Colorado, because it adds speed and skill to your fourth line. Maybe put Olivier on the third line, an original herdsman, and put Cousins and Jeannot on Johansson's wing, and then you have scoring depth, and then you have just a hitter on every line. Tanner Jeannot I know he led the Preds in hits, and I think he led all rookies in hits as well. And he had well over 300 hits this season. He's just been a beast. And playing with someone like Johansson, maybe he can get going again. Because, like I said, the Herd line has been stagnant. They have not. I think they finally had a point in the game against Arizona, like the first point in like 8 or 9 games, 6 to 9 games. So I'm gonna give it to Colorado in 6. As much as I hate to say it, I think Big Save Dave, if he's the one playing, he can steal a couple games and. But really I should have waited to do this until all information was known about Saros, but we may not know until Tuesday. But I'm gonna pick the Avs in 6, especially if Big Save Dave is playing, or Connor Ingram instead of UC Saros. The next series is the Blues at the Wild. The Blues in the Wild. This is probably gonna be the best series out of all the series. Because both of these teams are physical. Both of these teams can score. And both of these teams can defend. They can just have they're built for the playoffs, both of these teams. And I know experience sides out with the St. Louis Blues, though I think the Wild have made some pretty good pickups lately. Kirill the Thrill has been absolutely phenomenal to watch. Tarasenko has been resurgent this year on the other end. Both very talented Russian players, for one on each team. You got Ville Husso has been great. Marc-Andre Fleury on the other side. Ken Talbot can step up if needed, and so can Jordan Binnington. I mean, these are just two big, rough and tumble Central Division teams. What I think the Central Division has embodied the last couple of years is a big, rough and tumble style. You got big defensemen who can hit and they can score as well, and you got some big forwards who can hit and score. I think that's what it's going to be all about in this series. It's going to be reminiscent of the Minnesota Winnipeg series from a couple seasons ago. These teams are just going to go at each other. They're going to hate each other probably by the end of game 1, if not the end of game 2. And they're just going to be I'm anticipating lots of scrums in this game because that's just the way, players like Jordan Greenway play on the Wild side. It's going to be an insane series. I'm taking the Wild in 7. I would not be surprised if St. Louis won. And I know for the Penguins series, I took experience over skill, but I think, Marc-Andre Fleury has experience as well. I mean, as a team, they don't have the experience the Wild, and it's been, I think, a season or two since they've made the playoffs. I don't remember if they made it last year. I know they did make it last year, but this is gonna be a heavy, heavy series. This will be one to watch. When does that start? That starts tomorrow. Okay, so that starts Monday, and so the next series is the Calgary Flames versus the Dallas Stars. The Flames, I think, are going to kick the Stars up and down the ice. The Stars have been so inconsistent this season. It's going to be a physical series. I won't doubt that. I think everything from defense from defensemen to forwards to goalies, it's just all on Calgary's side. I mean, and then I saw someone say that Daryl Sutter teams are just built for the playoffs. They are the prototype for the playoffs, and I don't disagree. Dallas Stars, I mean, they've gone deep recently. They went deep in the bubble, so I'm not saying that they don't have the experience. But Flames, actually, they do lack some experience. It's been in deep runs. I mean, they've been in the playoffs a couple times. I think they missed last year, if I remember correctly. I think they were one of the 2 teams that played games during the playoffs, but were non-playoff games. I think it was them in Vancouver, but I don't remember exactly. I think the Stars are going to put up a fight. I'm not going to deny that, but I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they're going to win. I don't think they're going to come close. I think I'm going to take a 6-game series. Calgary coming out on top. The final series is the Oilers and the Kings. Experience is on the side of the Kings, that's for sure. But health is on the side of the Oilers. I think the Oilers are going to win this series in 6, just because the Kings aren't healthy. If the Kings were healthy, I think I'd give them a shot, maybe even winning it, to be honest. But since they're not that healthy, and maybe things have changed. I haven't looked to see if things have changed recently. But for the Kings and their injuries, and I know there'll probably be some players coming back to play injured in the playoffs. But overall, I definitely think the Oilers are going to win this game in 6. Maybe 5. But I'm going to give them 6. I'm going to give Kings benefit of the doubt here because of experience and, just the way that they play. They're another heavy team, another big team, but a team like Oilers, they'll just skate right past them. So let's head back to the East, and we'll pick up Florida versus Tampa, which in the second round, which will be a bloodbath. Those 2 teams hate each other, and every chance they get, there's just mayhem breaking out. I mean, just remember last year's series it was insane, and then, in a second round, I think it'll be even worse. I think I'm going to give the edge to Florida, not Tampa Bay, because I think Florida, they're just less tired, they're less beat up. I mean, I know Tampa's got some new guns like Nick Paul on the team, but I think Florida's going to run them out of the building. I think it's going to be a 6-game series. I think Florida's going to win. Ooh, that's a hot take that's going to knock me out. Anyway, so the next series would be Pittsburgh and Carolina. I think Carolina wins that series. I just think especially Freddie Anderson comes back. I think they just have a better defense and better scoring depth than Pittsburgh does. Pittsburgh has very good scoring depth, and I think more elite players. Like the players are a little bit better on Pittsburgh on the higher end than Carolina, but I think Carolina, they're just a younger team. Younger, more feisty team. So I think I'm going to give the edge to Carolina there. And I guess I'll just finish off. I'll do Carolina versus Florida. I think Carolina's going to win that series. I think after a 7-game grinding match against Tampa Bay. Or no, 6. I said 6. Ooh, it's going to hit by me in the ass. After a 6-game grinding match against Tampa Bay, and after, I think it's just going to be a speed game for the Carolina-Pittsburgh. I think Carolina's just going to be able to out score them. And that's going to be another series, just outscoring each other. And I think Carolina might just be a little bit better defensively, and we'll be able to, minimize those chances. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Carolina in that series as well. This is wild. This is different than my series bracket too. I didn't pick Florida to go this far, or Carolina, for that matter. Anyway, Carolina in the Stanley Cup Finals. Now let's go back to the West. Avalanche and Minnesota. I think Avalanche are gonna. Is that what I said? Yeah, Avalanche are gonna win that one. Again, another tough, gritty series. I think the Wild will grind the Avalanche down, but I think the Avalanche will prevail ultimately because they're just a more skilled team. I wouldn't even say they're more. They're not. I wouldn't even say they're deeper. I just like. In a 7-game series. It'll be a 7-game series. I like the Avalanche in 7 over the Wild. And then finally the Oilers and the Flames. The Battle of Alberta, which, I mean, going back to like 2018 has just been an absolute bloodbath. Kind of like the Battle of Florida. I mean, if we could get the Battle of Florida and the Battle of Alberta in the second round, that would just be absolutely insane. It'd be an absolute bloodbath. But I give the edge to Calgary because like I said, they're built for the playoffs. But they're also fast and skilled enough to keep up with Edmonton, and to just because of that, they'll be, if Edmonton tries to go past them, specifically Connor McDavid. I think someone like Matthew Tkachuk could just absolutely destroy McDavid. There'd be so many big hits in that series. There'd be so many fights. It's gonna be a bloodbath. I don't think it's gonna be quite as bad as the Pittsburgh Philly series from, I think it was 2012. Just because this is not how hockey's played anymore, but I can imagine that being the 2022 version of that series. And then finally, it's Calgary versus the Avalanche, and I have Calgary moving on. Again, they're just built for the playoffs. And I trust Daryl Sutter to get them all the way there. And so we have the Dougie Hamilton Bowl. Or the Lindholm Bowl, or the who was the other? Oh, the Fox, Adam Fox Bowl. He was traded away from both of those teams. Calgary and Carolina, the Noah Hannafin Bowl, if you will. I'm gonna pick Calgary here. Again, just built for hockey. Sometimes it's just how it is. You're built for playoff hockey, and you're just gonna stay. You're just gonna do that to the end. It's gonna be a lot like the Kings, I think. The second time they won the cup, just go in and just grind the shit out of Carolina, and that's gonna how that's gonna end. And I think Calgary is gonna win the Stanley Cup this year in 7 games. The cup will return to Canada this year. That's that. That's my in-depth analysis. I know I've had deeper analysis into hockey. I really have only paid attention to the Preds this year. I barely even watched the Devils this year. So, yeah, I think that's it. If you like this video, like it. If you want to see more, subscribe. I have a lot of stuff coming in the way. Listen to our NASCAR Know-It-Alls podcast. There's a new episode coming out on Wednesday. There's an episode coming out it's been out since last Wednesday. Chip Roasting will have a new episode, not this week, but the week after, because of the Multiverse of Madness, and the last episode of Moon Knight is coming out this week. We'll have lots to talk about. So yeah, if you like I said, if you like this video, click like. If you want to see more, subscribe, and I will see you all a little later.